All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sean with BlueRidgeSilverhound. We have the Wednesday edition of the Pocket Change Market Report for October 19th, 2022. Thank you guys for tuning in as we explore the kind of coins that you find out in change or coin roll hunting and cherry picking coin shops and dealers and all that great stuff. We're going to talk about some of these coins that have been resold on the marketplace. Quite a busy week. Quite a busy week. As a matter of fact, every single coin that you see here today was all from like the last 18 hours. You know, usually I have to go back like 48 to 72 hours just to pull up some data for this report. But for every coin, these are all quite recent. But I will point out this, a little general observation. Boy, was there a lot of trash that people had bought up for like 50 cents to $1, and they weren't anything. They weren't errors, they weren't varieties. It was just everybody that found something weird with a coin, they just threw it up on there. Throw numismatic morality out the window. It was rife with just random stuff that don't quite apply to the hobby. So I will say that. Just be wary. Know your error vernacular. You can always check out a website like error-ref.com. That's error reference. To make sure that some of these coins are certainly legit. And then I would expect you guys to do the same thing too. Before you go and sell these coins, go ahead and kind of double check, audit yourself to ensure that you are indeed selling a righteous error or variety. There's a lot of online resources. Go ahead and use them. And that's how you're going to build not only the clientele to continuously resell these in the future, but there's going to be an element of trust too that will help you make more money off of each sale. So one thing that I will say, there is a notable 2022 quarter variety, a few very brand new double dies that are moving up in the marketplace. Like, oh my goodness, these things are getting all sorts of bids, all sorts of activities on eBay. We're going to talk about that because that is pretty notable. And it's going to kind of wipe away the slate out of any other error or variety that you have come across from this particular quarter. Again, the narrative never changes. We talk about only raw, ungraded stuff. Grading these coins will traditionally add a whole bunch more money to the actual cost of the coin, that it's not going to be worth it at the end. So, errors and varieties speak for themselves. They'll sell for themselves. All right, let's go ahead and jump right in. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I know this is your guys' favorite, as is mine. The first one that we have here is, of course, one of the most recognized errors that we have come across just in the last 2 years. This is on the 2020 P American Samoa ATB quarter. As you guys know, there is a certain kind of error strike-through event that is really put this one front and center on some of the coins you should be looking for because they are big money. These things are trading at such a ridiculous level today. And this one right here came right out of circulation. So it's not the perfect coin, but still, this particular one has that just really massive strike through right on the face of that bat. Mama Bat isn't looking too good in this particular case. But as far as value, this one ended up selling for a cool $360. My goodness. The prices have been wildly consistent. And this is going all the way back since about, I would say, April or May, somewhere around there before we hit the summertime, where traditionally we see coins like this become a little bit more affordable, but they just weren't. These things continued to stay expensive. Here we are during the holidays, and they are still an expensive coin. So make sure you're looking out for these. There's a little bit of a close-up of that anomaly. These are traditionally accompanied by some feeder finger scrapes on the right side of the bat head in that field area. they'll be in the form of kind of like parallel lines that are a little bit kind of at a diagonal nature on there. But yeah, pretty cool. Hard to miss. This one is easy to see with the naked eye. The next one that we have here is one of my favorites. Again, I'll talk about these till the end of time because they are deserved of that. But also shows you how common these are. So if you're not looking for these, I don't know what to say. This is like easy money here. 2000p Sacagawea Dollar. This is, of course, the Wounded Eagle reverse. It's the FS 901 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. You'll see a couple of these die gouges right here going through the eagle breast feathers. So there's one long prominent die gouge which is actually raised on the coin, along with a little bit smaller one as well. So you're going to look for that on each one of these coins. This particular one sold for $151.45. We've seen a slight increase in how much these have been selling for. I know they've been going for around $80 to $100 over the summer. In no particular condition. I've seen brilliant, uncirculated, beautiful examples sell for about $100, but this one here, $150. I mean, you know, it's a pretty noticeable jump in how much these have sold for. The previous few examples have sold in that $100 to $125 example. This current coin that you see here that's sold is not the worst condition coin ever, but it's not the most brilliant, you know, as if it was struck yesterday example. Just a really neat example of a Roosevelt Dime. This is a 2000p Rosie that is broad struck. I would say more broad struck than maybe off center. It's awfully close, but it's got a nice uncentered broad strike where the collar was missing during the striking process, so that metal flow has to go outwards somewhere. And very beautiful example. This one shows all the luster you need to know to let you guys know that this one is a BU example. Again, these are collected by date. It doesn't matter what series. This one ended up selling for $30.74. Now here's one I've talked about on a few occasions. This is another strike through on a 2017 P. This is the only date of Lincoln set that has a physical P mint mark to commemorate the 225th anniversary of the Philadelphia Mint. So that's why they added that P mint mark on there. But this one, as you can see on the front of Mr. Lincoln here, has a few pretty nice strike through events. They call this a field restricted strike through, where the actual feeder finger that helps insert the blank planchet into the striking chamber makes contact with the die, and with that particular process also shifts around a little bit of grease that is on the actual feeder finger, and when it makes contact with the die, for every time it has to push a coin out of the striking chamber, it's also going to make contact with the die, attributing to some feeder finger scrapes and moving around that glob of that grease. This one right here, pretty nice example, although these have dropped down in price here recently. $14.43 was the final price on this. Now here's a good one that you guys keep an eye out on just bulk Indian head cent lots. This one right here is pretty worse for the wear with some corrosion. It's got staining. It could be anything on that coin, but this is a pretty good example of a mildly broad struck Indian head cent. It's a $18.99. This one sold for $24. So you never know where you're going to find these. I know personally, through the last 15, 20 years, I've come across a few of these. Just going through bulk Indian head cents, and some of these coins are corroded, they're damaged. But this is just a really nice example, regardless of the overall grade. $24 is a fair amount for this one. So I did this video on fancy serial numbers, and how I've kind of made the mistake that there are certain serial numbers that just don't justify a premium. And that is because the market for the longest time has accepted a standard. There are certain fancy serial number types that are, highly coveted. They're the ones that people pay the most amount of money for, and everything else essentially doesn't matter. So this one right here is a 2017 $1 bill. The part that pushes this one as far as the sale is concerned is the 5 in a row threes. Now, that doesn't seem too special because I've come across 5 and 6 in a row of any one number, but you always have 2 or 3 other numbers that kind of detract from it. Probably not so much anymore. This one right here, while not the most impressive example of a fancy, did sell for $10.58. So again, I'm sorry guys, if you have something that is borderline interesting, maybe it might be good for a game of liar's poker or whatever you call it, then yeah, I would say sell them, because there is a kind of hidden secondary market for these. I'm actually going to do a TikTok short video about another note I found that I'm a little bit undecided of what I'm going to do with it. I actually just found this today, and I'm sitting here staring at it on my desk. I'm like, ooh, man, I just can't believe how close it is. But yeah, I mean, hold on to these since it's a dollar bill. It's very minimal in terms of the risk versus the reward factor. It's not like it's a 20 or a 50 or $100 bill where you're gonna have to ask a lot more money for it compared to face value in order to turn a profit. All right, you don't have to worry about that on the dollar bill. So $10.58 on this one. There's a little bit of the back picture, so yeah, this one definitely circulated quite a bit. Well, here we go. This is the doubled die that you guys need to discover. You need to find these. Apparently, they're all over the place. It's on the Maya Angelou quarters, and the target date is 2022 P. These are currently not being found on any of the Denver minted examples, but you never know. One could pop up one day. It just takes a little bit of searching. However, there have been a number of pretty cool doubled die reverses that have recently been attributed by Dr. James Wiles on his site varietyvista.com. A few of our listeners, and watchers and viewers of not only the Blue Ridge Silverhound channel, but live coin Q&A as well, discovered a few of these examples. And we have been credited, along with the actual discoverers of such coins, of really passing the torch from the discoverer to the attributor, and all three that are known currently as Variety Vista doubled dies are now cataloged. This one right here, as you can see, has the doubled earring. This is the VDDR number 1. Absolutely stunning, very strong example, even though it is just the earring. This one, wow, how a couple weeks kind of changes things. Ended up selling for $43 with 28 bids. Lots of activity, lots of general interest in this particular variety. These have sold for about $20 to $24 at its lowest point before the variety actually caught a little bit more fire with the collecting public. So look out for these. There's quite a few of them. There's a VDDR number 1, 2, and 3. Now, this is quite the minor error here on this 1973 D Lincoln Memorial cent, but it does have a detached lamination. You can see it right above here on Lincoln's head going into the motto a little bit. So a piece of that particular coin had fallen off at some point in the past. Looks like it was a very old detachment because it has since retoned to the same color brown as the rest of the coin. So, it didn't sell for a lot, $4.10 with 2 bids. But keep in mind, would you rather toss this back knowing full well it's 400 times face value in price? I would probably just hold on to it. And the same goes for this one. This is a small date 1982 Lincoln Memorial cent with a pretty sizable curved clip. This particular example sold for $5.10, also with 2 bids as well. Now, this one's pretty cool. It's actually quite the minor variety, but 1970S is a fantastic date and mint mark to come across as you're searching through your coins. This particular one is a doubled die. This is DDO number 10, and you can see the doubling here on the first few letters in Liberty. This is pretty much the extent of this doubling, but again, it's worth noting that this is it can be a very findable variety. Not a lot of people know about this, outside of like the top 2 or 3 varieties for this date. This one ended up selling for $28.90. I bet you guys are going to pay a little bit closer attention to this one if you do come across it. This is one of the more surprising sales of this coin, and I think the jig is up on the 1988 reverse of 1989 Lincoln Memorial cent. This used to be a $20 to $40 coin, depending on condition, but I've seen these things ratchet up in the marketplace huge. I mean, not just like a few bucks here and there, but we're talking like big, huge gains on this one. So this is a P mint coin. It doesn't have a mint mark, so that lets you know what mint facility this one was produced at. This is out of the Philadelphia and Denver mint types. This is the little bit more scarcer of the two. But this is the wide AM reverse, also called the FS901. So this one was struck by reverse dies that were intended for a 1989 Lincoln cent. So a few things to keep an eye out for. Obviously, the pretty sizable gap between the A&M and America, but also the G in FG is going to be a completely different looking font. It's got the drop down kind of like gusset of the G, whereas the standard reverse of 88 just has a regular G without that point at the bottom here. So this one ended up selling for $204.48. There aren't too many examples that exist in high grades, and that's kind of like the big reason why that some of these are starting to go up in price if they look decent. Like this one is just a serviceable example of this particular variety, and one in which should be at the top of your list every time you do some penny roll hunting. Well, okay, this is the one here. This is not an error, not a variety. However, this particular coin right here, the 69S, yeah, it's synonymous with a certain big variety, but this one is not that. This coin sold for $35. Okay, so these things have, and I'll show you exactly what you need to know here in a second, but these things have managed to squeak by on the collectible scene for like $20, $30, $40, $50, $60. They even went up as high as like $1,100, 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know if you guys remember, I did a video on that one, but yeah, you'll notice there's some fingerprints on this coin. Otherwise, it's just a decent example of this machine doubling. Yeah, so we got a little bit of ejection machine doubling here. You could see it on both the date and the mint mark. It's got that shelf-like doubled feature that actually takes away from the devices and not add to it like a traditional hub doubled coin should. Yeah, these things, apparently they're a cult favorite among the community for what it's worth. Apparently it's $35 this time around. But yeah, you're going to be continuously surprised by how much these things sell for. I think the last one sold for, I don't know, like $40-$45. So they're just kind of like, when they do show up, they surprise you for sure. And this is not something that used to sell for $1 to $2. Those days, I guess, are long gone. But make of it what you should. If you have it, might as well take advantage of the market. I'm tired of fighting this particular anomaly anymore. If you got it, might as well make a few dollars in the process, which is probably not a bad idea considering we're getting close to Christmas time. All right, so we have a steel cent. Yes, we do. 1943D is the date and mint on this one. Not the perfect looking coin. It's decent. It does have some beginning stages of just regular oxidation, which comes in the form of like carbon spotting and kind of like a foggy look to it. But this one is a pretty cool variety. It's a doubled die obverse. You can tell by the large, thick bottom tail of the 9 is a dead giveaway, but also take a look at the distortion of all the letters in the word liberty as well. This is pretty cool. I believe this is a class 6 of, if I'm not mistaken, of double die. This one ended up selling for a $20 bill, which again, it's pretty good. These have sold for a lot less without the variety. The coin is probably worth about $1 in this current condition, but with the variety, it transforms it into something that will make you happy when you do come across a sale. Pretty neat. Again, another coin that you could find in just bulk Liberty V nickels. This is a 1910, which it could either be a detached lamination. It looks like it probably could have been. Or this could have been a struck through lamination off of another nickel, because you do also have a folded area that looks like it was struck in right here. Pretty cool. I mean, for as much circulation wear as this one has, it took a while before someone actually caught up to this one and knew exactly what it was. So this one right here ended up selling for $10.25 with 5 bids. Again, this is probably like a 75-cent nickel without the strike through. So we didn't have much in the way of currency. We did have a couple interesting finds. Here's a $20 bill, 1969C. With a little bit of a gutter fold there on the right side. So the actual sheet had a little wrinkle in it. So when it's printed over and then subsequently stretched afterwards, it's going to have a printed, printless area of where that wrinkle was. All right. So on this particular case, this one, the wrinkle was stretched out between the first and second print, which is the back print, because this one is printed over perfectly. This one right here ended up selling for $71.39 with 23 bids. Coins and cards had a couple really, really cool coins. Again, 1972 DDO, this is the FS101. Lincoln, one of the top varieties, bar none, in modern coinage. This one right here is just a beautiful example. Coins and Cards has sold a number of these raw, proving again that you don't have to grade these. This particular example ended at $606 with 53 bids. Again, the prices on the FS101 continue to climb because people are recognizing that this is actually a much bigger variety than what people lead to believe. These have been available for like $250 to $400 for the longest time, and then with the rise of a few other Lincoln cent varieties like the 84 DDO and 83 DDR, these things have all jumped up quite a bit here in the last year or so. So I'm glad to see a lot more interest in these. The prices have been stagnant for a while, but keep an eye out. These are going to continue to hold at such strong price levels. Coins and Cards also had a really nice Clash Dies Indian head cent. This is a 1864, almost said 1964. It's an 1864 L on ribbon. So it's the more desired 1864 coin out of the bunch. You can see the clashing more strong on the reverse. Man, it's powerful looking. But the Obverse also shows some clashing of the wreath as well in the front of Lady Liberty's face here in the fields. This one sold for $228.50. So this is a rather minor example of a double struck Jefferson nickel. This particular one here, you can tell that the final digit of the date is a 3. It could be a 1973 or it could be a 1983. At this point, it's really hard to figure that out. But yeah, the second strike is about 95% off center, and it is indeed a uniface. So the backside of that double struck area has nothing on it. So it's probably overlapped with another coin. leaving that blank. This one right here sold for $28.38. Another popular one. Hard to believe this coin's over a year old now, but yeah, these sold quite good during the last holiday season of 2021. But this is the Tuskegee Airmen, only found on Philadelphia struck examples. This has the nice struck through on the building there in the background, giving it a look of a bomb going off or a missile striking that Tuskegee Airmen headquarters. You can see a little bit of a close-up here. Pretty nice. Even has like a secondary event there as well. This one right here with, obviously circulated. $49.99 was the final sale. Here's another good-looking broad-struck coin, this time a 1999 P Jefferson Nickel. Very nice, lustrous, minty fresh example. And this one sold for $53.78. Okay, so this is one of those dates of coins where the Denver Mint gets much more action as the undisputed variety king. The 64 Philadelphias don't really have a whole lot going for them, but the Denver minted coins have doubled the dies. They got repunched mint marks. They're all across the Cherry Picker's Guide, so there's a few varieties in there. This one right here is the FS 101. Doubled die Obverse. Again, this is a Denver. You can see the D mint mark here on the reverse where I'm pointing at. So this, if you look at the We Trust, even the 4 in the digit, you can see the noticeable doubling and the notching. You can even see doubling on the designer initials there, right on that kind of beveled edge of Kennedy's bust. And perfect. I mean, this one's really cool. I've found a few of these myself, and it's particularly strong, especially when you see it through a magnifying glass for the first time. So this one ended up selling for $43 with 17 bids. Sure beats just, holding on to it for silver melt value, which most of the time that's what these are being held on to as. So again, look out for these. These are pretty cool. There's a DDO number 2, FS 102, I believe there's a 103, a few RPMs that are quite nice. There's a lot to look for in this date. So we have another doubled earring. I believe this is, another VDDR number 1. Completely different sale, about 12 hours apart from the first one we talked about. Note the condition, a little bit more scratched up compared to the other one. There's a little bit of a close-up, again, showing that doubled earring factored in there. This one sold for $35.75. Again, these things are climbing up higher, and I think people are trying to collect all 3 of them. There's probably going to be more, so look out for newer discoveries that no one has found yet. It's certainly worthwhile to do so. You could kind of get your name etched in history through, like Dr. Wiles' website or some of the others. So, it's a good time. It's still 2022 on my calendar. So this is still a brand new coin in my book. So the seller had mentioned that this one is a 1974, and boy, man, that's a tough one. There was probably just enough of a certain digit or something to make them believe that this is a 1974. Jefferson Nickel, it's off-centered by about 10-15%. Good old Zorro eyes with the drooling black mist coming from the corner of his mouth. I don't know where that came from, but this one ended up selling for $40.84 with 14 bids. I mean, if it's undisputed that this is a 74, then, that is a much tougher date for this error. Pretty cool one here. 1999 D Jefferson Nickel. It's off-center by about 65-70%. It's a uniface, so again, the back of that doubled area or the off-center portion of that coin is completely blank there. Sold for $54.49. Really cool because it has a full date and it's a very clean, very, very mint state example. And then finally, we're going to end off this edition of the PCMR the same way that we started it, with another American Samoa missing bat face quarter. Oh boy, this thing is in much nicer shape though. This was found very early on when these things were released, and those are the coins that count. This is a coin graded that had sold in excess of $1,000 at one point. So where does a raw version of this error stand at? This one sold for a cool, even $500. Strangely enough, the seller did not have a picture of the front of the coin. Again, I recommend that you guys do full pictures of the front and back when you are showcasing these. It's going to make a huge difference. There might be a big scratch on the front that we need to know about, and that's going to factor into the sale of such coins. But fantastic. American Samoa, doubled earring, Maya Angelou's are all the rage today in this edition of the PCMR. Hopefully you guys got a little bit of a takeaway from this video, especially when you're heading out to do some hunting of your own. I wish you guys nothing but the best and success. If you guys have something that you want us to take a look at, go ahead and feel free to email us at any time with your photos, but send only one email. Don't send multiples, even if you have multiple coins to talk about. info@livecoinqa.com is our email. We have a whole panel of experts that can help you out, but that's going to go ahead and wrap it, my friends. Go ahead and get some hunting done. We'd love to hear your wins and your successes. Best of luck to you. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you on the next coin video. Take care.